Today we're at the Falls of the Ohio, a place filled with geological, natural, and American history. So come on, let's go learn something.
One of the first things you notice when you come to the Falls of the Ohio is that it's not a waterfall, like the name might suggest. Rather, it was a series of rapids and low water barricades of rock that made it very difficult for ships to navigate. The Ohio River and the falls were created thousands of years ago as glaciers retreated across this area. As they carved out the rock, they also unveiled lots and lots of fossils. In fact, more than 600 species of fossils have been described here at the falls. But keep in mind, you can't take any of them with you, even if you're welcome to go here into the lower fossil bed and explore. You also notice in the distance you see Louisville, Kentucky, which is across the river. It is because the falls exist that Louisville exists. As boats would come down the Ohio River from Pittsburgh, where it originates, they would come to this area, and their boats would not be able to navigate any further because of the rapids, because of the low water. And so goods would have to be taken out of the water. And this led to a small settlement that started on Corn Island, an island in the Ohio River which no longer exists, and eventually transformed and grew into Louisville itself. So, if it weren't for the Falls of the Ohio, it's unlikely that Louisville would exist where it does, or that it would have grown into the large, important city that it is today. Even if you've never heard of the Falls of the Ohio, there's a very good chance you've heard about the great American story that started here at the Falls, and that, of course, was the Lewis and Clark expedition. It was sent out by President Thomas Jefferson in 1804 to go and explore the new Louisiana Purchase that had been purchased the year prior. The expedition started here at the falls because it was a logical place. Because of the rapids, it was difficult to navigate, and so they started downstream from the rapids. You can learn about Lewis and Clark and all the other histories here at the Interpretive Center. Let's go take a look. As you enter into the Interpretive Center, you're going to learn the entire history of the Falls of the Ohio, beginning with a short video that'll explain it. Then, as you walk through the exhibit, you're going to learn more details about the different time periods that helped shape the Falls of the Ohio, beginning with the Devonian Period. This is a period of time in which this part of North America was covered in a shallow sea. And you can see here not only fossils from that area, it's very similar to the fossils that are in the lower fossil bed outside, but also an explanation of what it may have looked like during that period of time. As you move on through the exhibit, the next portion you're going to learn about is the Ice Age, the period of time in which massive glaciers covered not only this portion of the United States, but much of North America. These glaciers, as they retreated, forever shaped the landscape of the continent. They created the Great Lakes, for example. They shaped mountains. They carved out the Ohio River, and they created the Falls of the Ohio. This area is also interactive, in which you can learn how scientists know what they know about this period of time through their study of geology. While many of the fossils found in this area around the Falls of the Ohio are of ancient sea life left here after the Devonian period, that's not the whole story. During the Ice Age is when we see large land mammals begin to roam this area. Their fossils, like those of mammoths, for example, are also left behind. This area of southern Indiana was a natural place for humans to settle thousands of years ago. With dense forests full of wildlife and a river teeming with fish, it made sense that humans would set up shop here on the banks of the Ohio. As you walk through the Interpretive Center, you can see some artifacts from those earliest people who lived here. You can learn about their culture, their way of life, how they hunted, the agriculture that they developed, and what day-to-day life may have been like. The primary tribe that lived in this area were the Shawnee, and you can take a look at what would have been a typical Shawnee dwelling in the time before European intervention, which of course eventually did happen in the 1700s. And the story here, as was the story in so many other areas of the United States, as European explorers came to the area, conflict between them and the Native Americans soon followed. There is no American more associated with the settlement and development of southern Indiana and of Louisville, Kentucky than George Rogers Clark. In the 1770s, Clark and his men came to this area and they set up a small settlement on Corn Island, an island that used to exist in the Ohio River even though it no longer is here. It is out of that settlement that Louisville, Kentucky eventually developed. The area also proved to be crucial during the Revolutionary War. It was Clark who led a military campaign into the Northwest Territory to take on the British. A military campaign that ultimately proved to be successful and crucial to the revolutionary cause. Later in life, Clark would establish the town of Clarksville, Indiana, and would build a cabin where he would live just a short ways down from the falls. It would be from this location that years later, his younger brother William would join together with Meriwether Lewis and begin their famous Lewis and Clark expedition in 1804. As time went on, the Falls of the Ohio continued to impact the people who lived in this area and the people who passed through. John James Audubon, Mark Twain, Walt Whitman, they all wrote about the natural beauty of the area. As Louisville developed and southern Indiana developed, efforts were made to change the rapids so they would be navigable by large boats. However, care is still being taken to protect the natural beauty of the area that first drew people to it thousands of years ago.